One of the biggest misconceptions I see in franchising is people thinking that once the FDD is done and the business is officially a franchise, the franchise sales are just going to happen naturally. And I understand why people think that, because from the outside, if the business is solid, if the branding looks good, if the opportunity makes sense, then it feels like people should just show up and buy it, right? But what a lot of business owners find out pretty quickly is that building a franchise and actually selling franchises are two completely different things. This is where a lot of brands get stuck. I'm Justin Kaiser, CEO of Empire Franchising, and I've spent the last 25 years building, scaling, and investing in businesses, including taking my own franchise brand from zero to over 100 franchises before an acquisition at the end of 2024. Now, what I've seen in the industry over and over again is this: brands doing everything they think that they're supposed to do. They invest in legal, they build out structure, they get everything ready, then they launch, and then barely anything happens. Or they get a lot of leads, but they got the wrong people looking for jobs, not people that actually have the capital to do it. That's when frustration actually starts to set in, because now they're wondering, why isn't this working? This takes a lot of time, and it comes down to not having a real franchise sales engine behind the brand. Because franchise sales is its own business. It's marketing, psychology, positioning, targeting, follow-up, qualification, nurturing. And most people underestimate how much infrastructure actually goes into doing this well. They think that they just need a website and some ads, maybe join a broker network, and then they wait. But the reality is, franchise buyers don't make decisions quickly, especially quality buyers. These are people investing real money into something that's going to impact their future, their family, their finances. So there has to be a real process behind this. You have to build trust throughout this process. I talk to franchisors all the time that tell me they've spent money on leads and the leads were terrible. And usually when I look deeper into it, the issue isn't that there's no demand, it's that the targeting is off, the messaging is off, or the positioning is just too generic. If your marketing sounds like every other franchise opportunity out there, you're going to attract low quality attention. That becomes exhausting really fast. You end up wasting time on calls with people that were never qualified to begin with. And eventually the franchisor starts feeling like franchise sales don't work. But the reality is the system behind the sales process was never structured correctly in the first place. Now, another thing I see constantly is brands trying to market franchise opportunities before they've clearly defined what actually makes them different. This matters more than what most people think, because franchise buyers today have lots of options. They see a lot of restaurants. They see home services opportunities all over the place, fitness concepts, service businesses, retail. They're all competing for this attention. So if your message is just about a great opportunity or a fast-growing brand, that's not enough anymore. People need to understand why this business exists. What problem does it solve? Why the model works, and why someone should want to choose this over every other option that they're looking at. Then there's follow-up, which is where a lot of the percentages of the deals die, because a lot of franchise brands respond too slowly, inconsistently, or worse, not at all. Or they don't have a structured process to guide people through that discovery process. And when that happens, the leads disappear. Not necessarily because they weren't interested, but because there was no momentum, no relationship building, no real leadership in the process. People underestimate how important this is, because franchise sales is not just transactional, it's relational, especially with higher quality candidates. I've also seen lots of brands focus way too heavily on quantity instead of quality. They want hundreds or thousands of leads, lots of clicks. But the reality is a smaller number of highly targeted franchise candidates is worth infinitely more than massive lead volume with no qualification behind it. Because ultimately, you're not trying to sell anyone into a franchise. You're trying to find the right operators for your franchise. This requires finding the right financial profiles, the people that are actually capable of building strong locations and contributing positively to the system long term. This is one of the reasons why we built Empire the way that we did, because we realized pretty early on, franchising doesn't scale properly without a real growth engine behind it. Not just marketing, but an entire system designed around attracting qualifying, nurturing, and converting the right franchise buyers consistently. Without that, growth becomes unpredictable. And unpredictable growth is one of the things that makes franchise systems fizzle out early. The brands that scale, they usually have a few things that work together at the same time. Strong positioning, clear messaging, systems that support franchisees properly, and a consistent franchise development engine that brings qualified people into the pipeline over and over again. Once those pieces start working together, your growth will compound and the entire system will become more valuable as it expands. This is where a lot of business owners realize franchising is a very different game than they originally thought, because it's not just about having a good business anymore. It's about building infrastructure around growth. And that requires a completely different level of intentionality. Because once franchisees start coming into the system, everything matters more. The marketing matters, the support matters, the onboarding matters, the positioning matters. Every part of the machine has to work together. So if you're thinking about franchising your business, or maybe you've already started, one of the biggest questions that I'd ask is this: do you actually have a predictable system for attracting and converting qualified franchise buyers? Or are you mostly relying on hope, referrals, random lead flow, and inconsistent marketing? Because that difference right there is what usually determines whether a franchise brand grows steadily or struggles to get traction. Now, if you want to see what building a real franchise growth engine could actually look like for your business, how the marketing works, how the lead flow works, how the qualification process works, and how to position your brand properly for growth, then go to empirefranchising.com. Schedule a strategy session with us. We'll walk through everything with you. Now, if you got value from this video, make sure you like it, follow along, because I'm going to keep breaking down every single week what actually goes into building and scaling a franchise system the right way. If you've built something solid and you're serious about turning it into something bigger, we'd love to explore what that could look like with you.